Welcome to Workhorse Wrestling Network. You're gathered with us here on this fine Tuesday evening, April 1st, April Fool's Day, for another episode of the Cookout podcast. Normally there is four of us, but life be lifing, and as you get the two of us. Myself and Miss Anika, the Anarchy Queen, are here. We're just gonna wing it tonight. We were gonna do Lucha Underground watch along, but we want to do that when everybody's here. So
Yes.
um, since it's just the two of us, all we're gonna start off. I'll just do a little housekeeping first and just let everybody know if you're new to the Workhorse Wrestling Network YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to be notified, hit the like button on this video. The best way to make sure that you know when we put something up on the YouTube channel is to hit that bell. You'll get a notification every time we are ready to put something. So if you're with us on Twitter, or if you're with us on Twitch, you can give us a follow over there. Unfortunately, we can't see your comments here on the YouTube or on the restream from Twitch, but if you come over to YouTube, we can see your comments. So if you're here with us, please chime in. Let us know what you got going on tonight. Let us know what you want to talk about. Anything in regards to the things that we're talking about. We'd love to hear from you. So I guess without further ado, normally CM does a clown of the week, but when she's not here, you've been filling in great. So you got a clown of the week to start it off.
No.
No. All right.
It might
So like
be
I said,
one
we're
of the,
gonna.
might
Good.
be at the end of the show, but as of right now, no.
Might be one at the end of the show. Let's see. So I think we're just gonna talk some random news. I was looking through a couple of the places where I like to see my wrestling news. Shout out to Wrestle Talk News and shout out to PW Insider, both of which are pretty good. Um, so I was going to see. Did you see Mick Foley was in a car accident?
No, is he okay?
Yeah, I guess it says he's okay. He was in a car accident last week. Uh, he says I have no idea how I'm still walking around after this accident. So maybe it was. I'm in the hospital now, and I'm sore from my neck, from my knees to my neck, including a minor concussion. But I mean, it sounds like he's going to be okay.
I mean, no offense, but after Hell in a Cell, a car accident, like really, is that really that big of a deal? Like, no offense.
He's taking bumps that are worse than that car accident, right?
Depending on the car accident, yes.
So it does look like Seth, Roman, and CM Punk are going to be main eventing night 2, which means Cody, or night 1, I'm sorry, night one.
Yep.
And Cody, that would put Cody in whatchamacallit on night 2. Mr. Cena, who I guess I haven't watched Raw yet, but the rumor is it got physical on Raw. Did you watch it?
Yes. Physical,
Yeah.
as in yes, they somewhat, it wasn't an all out brawl, but someone actually attacked someone else. Like, all right, cool. It was probably the best. It probably was the best exchange out of their 3 times. It definitely was. It definitely was the best exchange out of 3 times they did this. Again, don't know why it came first. Because it's like, okay, like, did he have to go somewhere? Like, in my brain, this is a European tour. And no, Cena has not wrestled, but you have been in Europe 3 Mondays consecutively. So unless you gotta go someplace and come back, it really is like, why doesn't this last? That's the only thing that's the only thing that I wish would happen. Like, this needs to be last. This doesn't. Why is this first? Really?
And honestly, like, I understand that this is, your universal champion and Cody Rhodes, you're your big champion. And, it's the legendary John Cena and it's your big, coming up on WrestleMania feud. I still don't need to see every single Raw. Like, you can let it breathe for a week or two, or you can do it slightly different. Like, I mean, you don't need to just keep having Cena come out and do say the same thing. And I understand getting physical at the end is a little bit different, but at the same time, I mean,
Yeah.
every single week, you can let it breathe a little bit more. They can do a video promo each or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to do the same thing over and over and over again, just to hype up the match.
No, I totally agree. It really does. Because he announced this was his retirement year last year, right? It was somewhere in the summertime or the end of 2024, right? It was before Royal Rumble. So I guess it's just a matter of scheduling wise, when you're free and when you're not. And then on that end, it's like, they claim that he won't be making any appearances up until WrestleMania. I don't believe that. I believe he will do a pop-up surprise before WrestleMania hits. That's just me. Because, like, we have 3 more Mondays. So it's like, really? 3 more Mondays without Cena seems crazy. So, like, if it was if it's a scheduling thing, hopefully, like I said, he'll hit that one last Raw before Mania. I will definitely say this. Last Monday, they definitely turned it up. I will, tune in Saturday morning when the circle will go in depth about the exchange. But definitely Raw last night definitely officially turned the heat up on some angles. It's like, okay, that was my issue with last week. It felt like we weren't solidifying any matches, and it's like, bro, we got 3 weeks. It's like, I'm not sure if anyone's watching the calendar, but we do have 3 weeks until WrestleMania. Some matches. Can we solidify some matches? Can we please do that? It felt like they definitely did that, and they definitely found what the core story is on some rivalries. It's like, okay, we finally hit a hot spot. Let's stick to the hot spot. Let's not deviate, please.
And last night was also overseas, right? It was international. Like I said, I haven't watched it yet, but it was overseas as well.
If I'm not mistaken, they're actually in London to Pip Cheerio. Okay. This is their last week.
I mean, I'm sure that's a big part of the reason as well, is that they're overseas, and like we've talked about several times since they've been overseas, these guys might only get to see these stars once or twice, maybe ever, let alone in a while, with intervals in between. So I can see like maybe running John Cena out in every city you're in when you're overseas, I guess, I suppose. But it does get a little bit much on Netflix, or it does get a little much when you're watching it every single week on Raw.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you don't want to assume stuff, but it does feel like, because they're so hyped, we don't have to put the extra punch on these shows. I don't want to assume that's the angle, but it does feel like, these people will take anything because we haven't been over here. That should not be your attitude, but it definitely feels like we don't have to hit the extra spice on the show because the crowd's going to be hot.
Yeah. I guess while they're in London, Triple H had an interview with BBC Newsbeat. Peter Gillibrand interviewed him, and he asked him what, if any, involvement Netflix has in the creative aspects of WWE now that it's on Netflix. And Triple H was pretty adamant in his response. He says, "We create the superstars, we create the storylines, we do all of that, and the world watches. Netflix only decides how long the show is, when we go off the air, or what time we're on the air, just like other live events. As far as the content of the shows, somebody doesn't tell the NFL how football's played, they distribute our product." Which I think is kind of interesting, because I know there's always been speculation, and I'm sure a lot of it true, and I don't always pay attention to what's going on in the background, and you might even know for sure, like with some solid evidence, that I think that other television deals they've had, their partners may have been involved. I know that a lot of people thought USA was involved. I know, those kinds of things. I don't know for sure. And like I said, maybe from over the years that there's some hard evidence that I'm not aware of. But it makes sense to me that Netflix isn't involved. At the same time, it's WWE, and I always thought their partners were to a certain extent. So I kind of assumed that Netflix would be, but
so there's two. No, they definitely were involved when it was Netflix, when it was USA versus Fox. I remember it was one period of time, I want to say right before the panorama ended, where when they did something on USA, Fox was like, "Oh, we want the same thing." case in point, they did a cage match on SmackDown, and they're like, "We want a cage match," and I believe it was okay. We'll give you Lashley versus Big E, and it's like you two babies. I think the difference now is Netflix. They have no clue. Yeah, I'll say it. They have no clue, or they're just babies in live TV. So it's live TV, they're not the experts. So I can definitely see them like, hey, we're not the experts. We're in new territory. We'll give it to y'all. I do believe in that. Where it's like we don't have no clue how to do live TV just yet, and we have no clue about wrestling just yet. So I can definitely see Netflix is saying, hey, our hands are out the fire. This is not our expertise. We'll give it to y'all. Y'all got it. Y'all got it.
I mean, I can see it from multiple angles. Smart business says, if all you're doing is distributing shows, you don't know anything about most of the shows you're distributing, how the shows are made, how the sauce, any of that stuff. Just distribute it, stay out of the
Mhm.
way, let the people that know what they're doing do it, and all you do is do what you know to do, right? Which is to just make it out there for people, accessible for people. I can see that, that's a smart business decision. These guys know what they're doing. Let them do it. You do what you
Yeah.
do. At the same time, I can always see from the other side how if I've made an investment in something, because I know how I am personally, I'm gonna, even if I'm not, I'm gonna feel like I want to be involved. I might be able to restrain myself, but I'm gonna feel like I want to say something. I'm gonna be pressed to the precipice of saying something. I'm gonna be holding myself because that's just the nature for me when I'm involved in something, even though I'm not technically involved in it, I am, and so I want some say. And at the same time, I can also see Triple H, you know, if you have
Back
a
the freak
extremely
off.
successful
Yeah.
company or Endeavor, who's whoever it is that they're whatever the major company is that they work for now,
TKO.
whoever TKO, who's ever pitching this deal to Netflix or pitching this deal in general, I can see how they're looking for a partner that doesn't want to be involved or says I'm not going to be, so that they have the autonomy to do whatever they want to do. I mean, who wants to go necessarily into business with someone that says, "Yeah, I'll distribute your project, and I don't know anything about
Right.
it, but I want to be involved," right? And be like, "Well,
Right.
wait a second, hold on," you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
obviously, that's probably something that was, if that was part of the conversation, I'm sure that was something that was attractive to Netflix. If they said, "We don't have a problem, just you do you, and we'll do us," like so.
Yeah. So like is I think like they're not 100% not involved. Like, the baby steps is can we at least promote our shows on your on Raw? It's like most definitely. Like, you're in Europe. Some dude from Black Mirror was in the crowd. Like, come okay, our next show is dropping. Like he's like yeah. So like at least that, or it's like can we promote? Like they're having conversations, but it's definitely you get the final say. It's definitely get the final say, and more so it's probably like how do we advertise Netflix on Raw? Probably that's right now. That's probably where they're at on the whole collaboration effort.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, this
Do
is
you?
weird, dude. I'm sorry. I'm looking at news as we're kind of talking just to see, and this little article that I'm looking at here is so weird. So the headline said former WWE star was forced to change look to avoid resembling AEW's coat. And it has something to do with Heath Slater. Unlike the development brand known for the last NXT, WWE NXT originally debuted in 2010 with a game show format, pitting
You're
8
right.
contestants against each other in weekly challenges. One of those, oh, come on, of course.
Like if
The
you're
little
here,
pop
follow,
up came in.
subscribe. Blah, 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 blah,
The
blah, blah,
little
blah.
pop up popped up as I
Yeah.
was reading the thing, and it's come on. Let's see what to say. One of those 8 hopefuls was Heath Slater, who, despite not winning, proved to be one of the longest tenured stars that came from the show's first season. While Slater would carve out a spot in the roster for the next decade following his time in NXT, he was originally told that his appearance resembled then WWE star Edge. Speaking with Kenny McIntosh between the ropes, he said, come on, another pop up? He says, Dr. Tom Pritchard pulled 8 of us into a room and he had an email saying, "We need your 8 best down here. Are you ready for best down here? Ready for TV?" I was one of the 8. This is Heath Slater speaking. Next thing I knew, they thought that I looked too much like Edge. My hair was long. I had the long coat. I had the long tights with ensembles on the side that resembled but didn't look like Edge's. But they told me before I got called up to go to NXT that I needed to cut my hair off, got to go to Trunks and all this stuff. Where I'm like, why are you just changing everything about me? That's interesting. All right. I mean, it just because we all speculate on like what the thought process is and has been over the
Right.
years, just behind the scenes. And when you actually hear those things, like Keith Lee saying, "Yeah, they told me I was too fat and had to go down and lose some weight and work on my whatever," and Heath Slater saying they came to me and said, "Oh, you got to change your look so you don't look like Edge." It's just interesting when those little nuggets get revealed, like the little true stories. So
It definitely
interesting,
is, especially it's like he don't look like Ed. Like he does not look like Edge.
right? He doesn't in
Like,
any way, shape, or form. Never did I
in
think he looked like Edge.
any way, shape, or form, even if his hair was blonde, it's like I what do y'all see? Where is a
Right?
comparison of him and Edge? I,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
interesting.
That's wild. It's wild.
But hey, I know what
Yeah.
I want to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you see Collision?
I did not.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry.
I put it in the group chat. It's happening.
Yes, I saw
So,
that. I was like, I gotta
uh,
watch it. I gotta watch it,
so,
but I don't know what it was. So
so
what
I
happened?
guess for me in my house, I guess when I put something in the group chat, y'all ignore it. Oh, it's just Anika being Anika. It's not that freaking special. You know what? It's fine though. It's fine. I will send. I will send you the quick clip and we can discuss
I'm
because this was definitely post. I am very surprised. All right, so while I'll send you this clip, we'll have a
all right.
conversation.
All right.
They are trying to push Collision, and I do appreciate that because if you do have two shows, you should put forward effort. So when is the time where we're like, okay, some major angles should be on Collision? Because I really, my first thing was, why is this not on Dynamite? And this is like, yeah, we got to build Collision, but it's like certain stuff should not be on Collision.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and they've cut
Yeah,
other shows. They've cut other shows, right? They've cut Dynamite or not Dynamite, Dark and Dark Elevation and Rampage, and really you're down to 2 shows. So you should, I mean, other than the Ring of Honor stuff that you're doing, you should have the bandwidth, the wherewithal to be able to do 2 shows well.
you should. And it's like, I like when they had Rampage and they were actually putting forth an effort on Rampage, it was like, okay, cool. But it really is like, when do we say, okay, we can truly spread the wealth? It's because like, I totally get it. You want the both shows to succeed, but on the other hand, one show is not like the other. Like unlike Raw and SmackDown, and they're just claiming Raw the A show, but we love SmackDown. There is a difference. There is a difference between Dynamite and Collision. So it really is like, will we ever get that level up back?
Yeah, I mean, Tony can say what he wants about, the shows being equal, titles being equal, all those things, but it does, in practical application, it doesn't work out that way. In reality, it doesn't really work out that way. And unfortunately, even though Collision isn't bad, you can tell that, Dynamite is the show that they do everything on or that they do the big stuff on, right? And that Collision's kind of the one to just keep the story going or to, whatever, to facilitate kind of what's going on Dynamite, right? So.
Yeah. So I just sent it
Okay.
to you. I'm gonna let
Okay.
it's a short clip, but I will pontificate
I'll mute myself and watch it real quick.
Yes, and I pontificate while you get back. Like I said, Collision was very much so great. If you have not seen it, please go watch it. As soon as we get everything situated, we're actually going to do a rundown with that. Hopefully I said this right. Acai Wrestling. Yes, Acai Wrestling. This Owen Cup, I am very much excited for the men and now the women. because like we first got, as soon as he's finished, we know who two are going to be in the women's Owen Cup, and I'm trying to think. The last Owen Women's Cup on the women's side was decent. It was decent, but it still didn't have that oomph. This is definitely going to have the oomph. This is definitely going to have the oomph. It's just a matter of how we play it out. It really is. You definitely need some more women to at least have the wonderment of who's going to be in the finals. Because like certain people that say I'm in a tournament of any capacity, it's like, okay, this is the finals. Play period. Like sometimes it is like, come on, come on, you definitely need more people just to. The best thing about wrestling is, even though we know it's predetermined, as long as we don't know, that's what makes it hot. So when you have these two great stars in there, you need two more to at least have the assumption that this is the finals, right? It's like, I need Jamie Hayter. She's back from England. Let her come back. Let her be in it. Will always a great time if she wants to be in it. Yes, please. So like we definitely need three more to actually have the unpredictability of this tournament. Are you done? You saw it?
Ma'am, I did see it. It is happening. It is happening. You know, I understand, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm pretty sure Dynamite's on TNT, Collision's on TBS. And originally
Yes.
Collision was kind of the home for the TBS champion. So I understand why Mercedes is there and why Athena made her appearance on Collision on Saturday night and stepped up to Mercedes Monet after Mercedes, it looks like, was beat Billy Starks again, maybe in another match, or was
No.
beating her.
So she was actually competing against Robin Renegade. And
Okay.
I feel like now Robin's going to be her protege, because at the end of this, like when you go back, watch the whole thing, she was like, Tony Schiavone does it, and she was like, Robin Renegade is better than Billy Starks. Get it out for her. So it feels like that's going to be her little minion. Hopefully so. And that would be
Right.
hilarious. Like, okay, I actually would like that. If it's Robin and Mercedes versus Tony, Billy and Athena, but it's happening.
Yeah. Athena was there with her belts, multiple belts. Mercedes has her multiple belts. And it'll be interesting to see how long it takes to actually get the match, but it looks like that's what's going to happen. Did
Yeah,
they say? I mean, I couldn't really, because um, if I turn the volume down in general, it would turn down both volumes, so I couldn't really hear it because I had you up. So I didn't hear necessarily what they were talking about, but the match hasn't been scheduled at all yet or anything, right?
so I will fill you in. They're not doing a match. They're gonna both be
Okay.
in the Women's Owen Hart Cup.
Okay.
And so yeah.
Interesting.
Mercedes was like, I'm feeling for more gold, so that's why I'm officially announcing myself for the Women's Owen Hart Cup.
Ah.
And then Athena does a nice little backstage promo. And she was like, keep my name and my minion's name out of your mouth. But that's a good idea, more gold. So I will be in that Owen Hart Cup too. I believe
Oh.
Billy Starks is in there as well. So, I'm pretty sure you were here, you were listening to me. So we have these two in the Women's Own Heart Cup. I need two more, so we can at least kind of doubt this is the finals, right? And like we need to, I need to be a little bit more unpredictable. So Willow is always a good time. Throw Jamie Hayter in there, please, and let her please beat some people. It's been freaking too long.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. If you just have basically Athena and Mercedes and a bunch of then you already know what's basically going to happen. I mean, there's not a whole lot of mystery there. So you got to put people in there that at least, even though you still know what's going to happen, at least the matches should be good enough and the opponents are viable enough that you go, maybe they could actually win. I mean, Jamie Hayter can beat Mercedes Monet. Jamie Hayter can beat Athena. So, I mean, in theory, those are, I mean, she won't in this tournament, but she could, and so at least it provides some sort of unpredictability, a little bit.
Yeah, but like Just like they finally did it. I am very surprised. This also tells me that not sure when the Owen Hart Cup starts, but they're trying to time it they have to be timing it right before All In, because All In's in Texas. You can't tell me you're not timing it. So I'm not sure. Okay, All In is in August.
Yeah, let's see.
It's been August for the past 2 years, I think,
AW
or July.
All In
If it's in July,
2025.
May, June, that's 3 months.
July 12th.
July
July
12th.
12th.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, no. So crazy enough, that's 2.5, 3 months. So y'all should definitely start sooner than later. But yeah, it actually is happening.
It's happening. No, that's very juicy. I'm very excited for that. I mean, we talked a lot about this, and it seems like it was just a matter of time. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. It's one of those situations where Athena has been so red hot and
Mm-hmm.
dominating in Ring of Honor that does she come and get beat? And if she
No,
does, what does that do to her? What does that do to Ring of Honor? Does that solidify that they are really at the kind of the bottom of the pecking order? Because really, I mean, Ring of Honor is considered like, I don't want to say the NXT, but I mean,
a
it's not
little.
developmental. It's
It's
not
a little
developmental.
lower.
Oh, you think so? Okay, well,
Well,
the quality is a little lower. The quality is a little
quality,
lower,
yes.
but the idea, the concept, it's not a developmental show per se. I mean, they are developing some people on it, but it's not supposed to be like their developmental show. At least that's not the impression I ever got of the new Ring of Honor. But yeah, so I mean, it's interesting to see. And if Mercedes loses and Athena's champion, what does that do for Mercedes? She still has other belts, but what does that do for Mercedes just in general? I mean, it's just interesting. It'll be very interesting to me to see who goes over and how they decide to go over and what the match ends up ultimately looking like when it goes down. So
So crazy enough, I think we both want. I think when we were discussing Mercedes and Athena, we wanted a one-on-one match. I kind
yeah.
of like it being in a tournament where it's like, okay, how do we prolong this until All In, because it's in Texas. Athena's from
Sure.
Texas. This is how it's supposed to be. This is probably the best way to do it, right? So this is definitely okay. It's officially happening. It's in the mix. We're gonna prolong it for 3 months. It's probably the best way. So I'm excited. I am. Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Other interesting news, don't want to spoil it, and we'll talk more in depth about it on Winner's Circle where we actually review NXT. But I just saw that they
Yeah.
had Stephanie Vicaire vacate the North American title this evening, the
Yeah.
beginning of the show, and they're going to have a 6-woman ladder match for the vacant title at Stand and Deliver on WWE or on WrestleMania weekend. So,
They
but
got
here's
some.
the question. Here's the
Yeah.
question. But this, I don't understand why you even do last week then. Why you have her defend them twice,
Um.
win the belts, to just have the next week come? Why even do that then? I mean, just have her do it last week. Why do it?
Well.
It seems odd. I mean, I
You know.
guess if your goal is to show us how tough Stephanie is and there's a good
Yeah.
platform to do that, then okay, then that's fine. I mean, I guess for those of us that don't necessarily have a long history with her, have seen, maybe a couple matches outside of WWE, but mostly, the NXT stuff she's done recently is the bulk of it. I suppose it makes sense to, get her a ton of exposure. To say it just seems like a weird way to do that, though.
I mean, on one hand, if you're gonna, I like the notion that if you're gonna let her win both titles, at least her to defend it once for both times. I think it'll be more heart crushing if she doesn't defend them at all. It's like, all right, so we just did it to get the ball off Julia. Like she didn't even defend it. Dad got it, so at least she defended it once.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess it makes sense.
Like you kind of foresaw it. Like no one has really ever went long in having two belts and defending them. My first mind went to MJF having the Ring of Honor tag team titles and the World Heavyweight AEW World Heavyweight Championship. but I think he only defended it once in a tag team, right? And that was and no offense, I stand by my statement. That was the dumbest thing in the world. That did nothing. That did nothing for the righteous, which that group I absolutely loved. That could actually have been something, but I digress. But yeah, the notion of someone having two titles, no one has ever done it well. It's like I would love for if anyone's in the comments, if anyone's in the live chat or in the comments if you watch this on demand, please tell me if there's any dual champion that actually did it well. So unfortunately, we kind of saw this coming. Like I said, at least he defended it once, but women's North American ladder match. Listen, the men's North American ladder matches on Stand Deliver. That has been not even a dark horse. That's been the match everyone wants to see. That's the match that everyone is anticipating is done well. So I have trust in the women, but you got some big shoes to fill. Like you got some huge shoes to fill. You know, they made a ladder match as well. It's like, okay. Yeah, okay. It's do or die now with this belt. It really is.
I've been seeing if I haven't watched NXT yet from this evening, so I don't know if they announced any of the participants yet for the 6-woman ladder match, but
they did matches, and we know 2 that's already inside. Now, we're not for spoilers, but we already have 2 people who are advanced.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, it's not really a spoiler because I was going to ask you who you think should win the North American Women's Championship, who should be in the match and who should win. And if one of them is already in, then it's kind of, you got to kind of spoil it.
Crazy enough, the 2 people who are in, okay, one maybe.
Say it. It's okay.
Well, like one maybe, but okay, it might be old girl from Australia who just got here.
Zarya.
I would think
was she qualified.
I'm not sure because I'm not going to do that to you. Okay. But no, I do think that we talked about the new age of women's wrestling in NXT. It was Zarya, Julia, and Stephanie. So it does make sense to be like, yeah, we were actually talking amongst each other, like, okay, Julia and Stephanie's here, and then Jordan Grace came along, and it's like, okay, hold up, we're going to do with Zarya. This would be a perfect spot for her to win the belt. I am not into her like that. She's good, but she is not my cup of tea yet. So that's why I'm like, yeah, should be Zarya, but I think we do have other options. I just don't know them. I just don't know them now.
Well, the question is, who is Stephanie's next opponent for the Women's World Championship? You think it's Jordan Grace? So I almost think Jordan Grace could win the ladder match and be the North American champion.
So, what happened? What had happened is, you want me to tell you what happened on the show?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what had happened was Jordan and Jada came back to confront Zarya about the decision, and Zarya and Stephanie was like, "This seems like this is between you. I will leave." And so as of right now, we're going to have a rivalry between Jordan Grace and Jada Parker. We have 3 weeks to determine who will face Stephanie in the main event. Which I hope is like, look, actually, like, honestly, I wanted to be Jada. I know Jordan Grace is the juggernaut and everything, but I'm more into her, and not just because she's black, but it's more so just to feel, I have to say it, but it's more so just the attitude and how the story with Jada would be much better than her versus Jordan. I'm not, and maybe it's just me, but Jordan Grace, I think we need to establish his babyface or heel or not, because how she came out, she was like, well, since you got rid of the Jada Parker situation, it's like, hold up, time out, pause. The reason why Jordan didn't win because your behind was on the apron. Like, let's not act like you was just innocent in all this. So, I will say, I am glad that we're getting Jada something to do, and Jordan isn't right automatically dropped into the championship picture. So I am kind of like I am into it. I don't want a triple threat because I think we're already doing that on the men's side. But if y'all just give her some more reps, I'm into y'all are pushing Jada, and I appreciate that. But you got to do it all the way. Don't half-ass it. Just you can do it all the way to the moon or not.
Yeah, and I think, for what it's worth, I think that the story is always better when you have not necessarily a dominant champion, but a strong champion and kind of an underdog contender. And Jordan Grace is definitely not an underdog. If anything, Jordan Grace in a match with Stephanie may be favored to a certain extent just because of who she is and her history and all that stuff. I mean, I think Stephanie's a better wrestler. There's no doubt about it. But just Jordan Grace has a bigger name. So if you run Jada
Yeah.
and Stephanie, Stephanie is definitely the big name. Jada comes in with the chip on her shoulder, the underdog, and if she can manage to win, it's a bigger story and a bigger accomplishment than it is if Jordan Grace, who people might think, oh, well, it's 50-50, maybe even more in Jordan's favor. Oh, she just did what she's supposed to do and beat Stephanie to a certain extent. Not like that, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
I can see why you'd want to do that first. And personally, not against Jordan Grace. I like Jordan Grace. I mean, Jordan Grace is great at what she does. She's a solid wrestler.
Right.
She's charismatic. She's not Jada Parker. Jada Parker has something. When you just
Bruh.
watch her, she just has something. And periodically you see these stars, right? Where you look at them and you go, that person has it. And I feel like Jada Parker has it. I think she's going to be around for a long time. And I think she's got a very successful career in front of her. So I'm happy to see them giving her the push. I'm happy that it looks like they're seeing that as well,
Yes.
which is good to see. Because a lot of times I feel like there's a disconnect between what I see with my eyes and what the people behind the scenes
Yeah.
that are making the decision see with their eyes. So I'm glad that we're on the same page. It seems like so far with Jada
Right.
Parker. So,
Yeah. Side
so
note, you asked me the next the women's North American champion,
yeah,
Lola Vice. If y'all want to reheat her, if I feel like y'all need to reheat her up too. So you're just giving her a chance in the ladder match. Like she should definitely qualify.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that would be fun too. Definitely see that.
They got
Let's
options.
see.
They definitely got
They got
options.
options. Charlotte Flair responds to a rumor of a WWE Evolution PLE return. They only did it the 1 year in 2018, and they're talking about doing another one. What do you think? Bringing it back? You think they should? For
They
some all
definitely
women?
should, but I will believe it when I see it. Like no offense, I will believe it when I see it. The hard fact is they only did that because Saudi Arabia was not letting the women over there the first year, and number two, they had old girl, what's her name, Ronda Rousey. So as of right now, Big Mommy is a huge star. She is. But Ronda Rousey was in movies. She was on ESPN. She made her UFC career uh outside of the ring. You know what I'm saying? And so you don't have that star in WWE right now, unfortunately. That don't mean you shouldn't do it, but those two factors were the real reason why women's evolution happened. And I'm hard pressed to believe if you don't have one of those people, one of those factors, you're doing it again. Listen. I want you to do it. I would love that because you have enough females to do it. But are they going to do it? Is the question. I don't think they are.
I think it's debatable. I mean, I think if I don't. I mean, I think you can't avoid it because the best women wrestlers in WWE at the moment are on NXT. So you'd have to include NXT in the mix. And I'm
Yep.
not sure. When I look at the roster, you have enough physical bodies, but I'm not sure that you have enough star wrestlers
Yeah.
at this point that I care enough about women's wrestlers to put on a whole evolution where it's like every
Yeah.
match is good, every match you're invested in, you know what I mean? Like you got to
Yeah.
build that Raw and SmackDown women's division back up better before I think you can really do that in a good way. So I mean, they have to do it. They should be doing it every year in theory, but at the same time, if you can't do it right or you don't think it's going to be good, then I guess don't do it. Don't do it bad.
Facts.
But I
Yes.
don't know that for me right now. I don't know that 2025 is the right. When I'm looking at WWE, it's from 2018 to 2025. I think to myself, why would this be the right year? Like the women's division has been better between that time you wanted to
Yeah.
do it than it has been right now. So I mean, again, unless you're looking mostly at NXT, in which case you do have a lot of very good women over there. So I mean,
So the first thing that popped into my mind if they want to bring the NXT women along, Io versus Julia. Yes, please. That would be so freaking tasty if you want to do that. Definitely, definitely, Big Mommy should be on there. Bianca should be on there. It doesn't matter who they face, right? I don't want a repeat of anyone versus Charlotte. No offense. Like that's another thing. What new matches would entice people to come watch too? Because Becky's still out. Becky still enjoy her vacation, and rightfully so. And it feels like if we don't have Becky, then that's definitely a much harder card to sell to the audience.
Yeah. No, I agree with that for sure, 100%. They wanted to have Carmella with Pretty Deadly. What do you think of that? At some point, that was a pitch. Carmella with Pretty
Carmella.
Deadly.
Oh,
Carmella,
I
Money Mella with Pretty Deadly. That was apparently a pitch backstage that ended up never happening, but that was a pitch. What do you think
I
about that?
I kind of see it. I kind of see it. The more so the whole fashion, like the Staten Island Queen versus the
Right.
beautiful scene. Yes, but yes, but I can see it being done. It's a matter of how serious are you taking that group. And I think that's probably why they're like, nah. It's like, nah. Like, if you're not gonna take the group seriously, don't do it. Don't do it.
Agreed. Let's see. Anything else? Well, I'm trying to see what else there is here worth. Let's see.
I'm talking too. If you want, real quick, do you want to discuss AEW Dynasty? It's this Sunday. That's
Yeah.
insane. If we're all healthy, we're going to do a watch along. Do you want to go down the card and see and pick and do our picks real quick?
Yep. Yeah. Let me get the card real quick. AEW Dynasty.
This feels so short of a build,
23, right?
and probably
Let's
because the
see.
whole what the freak. See, don't do that. Don't scare me. Don't just scare me like that. That's not funny. No, I'm sorry. My hair scared me. Like definitely the main event of Moxley versus Swerve. It feels like you did the street fight and it was cool, but I did kind of cut into the time of what you could be doing to build up Swerve versus Moxley. Like I would have loved if you had that third extra thing. I can't wait for this tag team match. This is gonna be so much freaking fun. But I wish they would have had one more face off before Dynasty this Sunday.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, they haven't done. It's pretty much been Copeland and Moxley, and now it's been like this real quick pivot to Swerve. Quick pivot, like Swerve's been kind of in the background. Everyone's been asking for him, and they've been talking about, oh, we need Moxley, Swerve. But at the same time, they made a real quick turn from Copeland to Swerve, and there isn't a lot of time between Dynasty, obviously, between when they made that turn in Dynasty. So, and that is actually the first match that they listed here, Swerve versus Moxley. My guess is that this has to be the end of Moxley's reign here. Swerve has to win here. I just don't. I'm not. I mean, he doesn't have to. Obviously, he can do whatever they want to do. But I just, I don't know that Tony Khan sees it the same way. But I'm not the only person I know because I talk to people. I'm not the only person that is not necessarily, enjoying this Moxley run at this point. Like, it's either got bored, you didn't like it from the beginning, this Moxley, for whatever reason, isn't doing it for you at this point, whatever the case may be. I feel like, I don't remember what year was that he was our favorite wrestler, that he was best wrestler of the year,
Probably
2021.
2023.
Okay, so 23, yeah, whatever. So it feels like there's been quite, say, a drop off for me but just the way he was presented, it felt different, and now it just feels like it's run its course. I can't really explain it. Like, it's hard for me to continue to buy into the just endlessly internally insane John Moxley. Like, the dude is never calm. I mean, he hasn't been calm now in like 2 years. Like, he's at this breaking point, at the point of just can't handle it. Every promo is screaming. Everyone's choked out. Everyone's ultra. It's all for like a couple of years now, and it just at like 1,000%. And it's like at some point, everybody has to be like, okay, I got to take a breath. And we haven't. I feel like we haven't seen that from Moxley, and as a result, it's kind of. I feel like I've become desensitized to it. Like it doesn't have the same impact. So I think it's time for Swerve to win that title again. I'm always so critical on recycling champions. I don't want to say we're recycling Swerve, but AEW's been around 5 years, right? We're going on 6 years. Moxley's had the title 4 times now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this would be Swerve's second time if he wins it. And it's how many times? And I get it. Like you only have a small number of people that, in theory, really hover around your world championship because there's only so many people at that level. But it seems really early in your history as a company to be already have a Moxley have the title 4 times type of situation. So even though Swerve should win here because I'm tired of Moxley, I don't need Swerve to also then lose it again in 6 months and win it back in 6 months. And all of a sudden, I get like WWE has a lot of history around Cena having the 16 titles and, Orton being very close and Triple H winning 12 and all these. But at the same time, like, is over a real long period of time. It feels like a lot longer than this has been so far for a lot of those people. And two, I don't necessarily like that. Like I was never the biggest, even though it's a John Cena fan at the time. It's like, why does he have to win it 15 times, like 16 times? Like, come on. Like, there's plenty of other people out there that I believe have put in as much work and are worthy of getting an opportunity that never get an opportunity when these guys get to hold the belt 10 plus times. And it's like, I don't want to see that in AEW because the AEW roster is so stacked that, I mean, what does that mean for a Kyle Fletcher? What does that mean for a Takeshita? What does that mean for, some of those guys, a Brian Cage, a Big Bill, a Brian Keith, any of those guys? Like, is there any room? There's no room. Everyone's, these guys have the little niche sewed up, right? And they're just bouncing the title around each other. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. I still think Swerve needs to win, and I want Swerve to be champion, but I'm worried about that in general with AEW.
So, just on how short the build is, and this is a very short build, I'm going to say no to Swerve winning. Because like it feels like if you're going to if Swerve is going to be your 2-time AEW champion, we need more of a build. We need more of doubt of someone into that dissension. I don't have no offense. I don't see it. That's just me. I don't see it. Also, I am a John Moxley apologist. I really feel like the main misstep. I was me very specific with my words. The main misstep of the Death Riders is Adam Copeland. Unfortunately, it feels like I want you to. I realize I want you to watch Collision because Collision is so good. You can see it feels like John Moxley is back to his old stuff. I want to see you another clip where it's him doing a backstage promo for the match, and he's actually smiling, and it feels like I don't know the conversation. I'm going on pure what I see, but it feels like Adam Copeland said, "I need to be crazy, Moxley." It's like he's like, "Fine." It's like I want you to be mad all the time. He's like, "Fine." And the story of the Death Riders is to build up your future to press AEW to bring out its best, and hopefully for the future. Now, granted, we know Swerve is not a rookie, but he's not a veteran yet in my eyes. I don't care about age. I care about how long you've been wrestling on national television. And to that degree, no, Swerve is not a veteran just yet. I still need, and this is a personal note, I still need to see Moxley versus Jay White. I don't know why y'all keep trying to denounce me, Moxley versus Jay White. And we're definitely, again, I'm not naive. I'm not naive to say this has been 100% good. We're definitely going to roll the dice. But if we can get back on track, and I know that has been said so many times in the past couple of months, I do want to see Moxley versus Ospreay. I do want to see that. And speaking of someone who is new and crazy enough, we've been wanting him to have the AEW World Heavyweight Championship for a minute. I would love it if he wins it, if he has it. So to that note, no, I don't. I think Moxley retains at Dynasty.
I want to see Moxley wrestle those guys too. I just don't know that it has to be with the title. I just don't know that it has to be for the belt. Now, eventually, I want Ospreay to be champion, but I don't know that he has to not, or that it has to, he has to wrestle. And I'm concerned. Moxley is what he is, right? And I'm not going to say he's limited, but he's a different kind of wrestler than a Will Ospreay or a Kenny Omega or a Kyle Fletcher. Yeah. And those matches, the ones between Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, the ones between Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay, have been so amazing that I don't know that I think Moxley lives up to that. I mean, I know that sounds weird because he's been so good for a long time, but at the same time, I don't know that I think the chemistry between those two works the same way, and I don't necessarily want to see. I mean, not every match for Will Ospreay is going to be Kenny Omega or Kyle Fletcher. I get that, and at the same time, the idea is that Moxley is one of the best in the world, and I don't want it to appear. I mean, not that I care, but in my mind, it feels like it could expose him a little bit, right? Like you can see more of his limitations when he's actually in the ring against someone like, Will Ospreay in a prime moment, and you can be like, oh shit, like there really are differences here. You know what I mean? Maybe it isn't that obvious. Maybe Moxley will, do more than I think. Maybe he can hold his own more than I think, but I don't know. And that's nothing against him. He's a different style of wrestler. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening. But the next match on the card is Toni Storm versus Megan Bayne, or at least on this list here. I'm sure that's not how their orders are going in, but for the Women's World Championship. I mean, I can't imagine this isn't Toni Storm. I mean, I like Megan Bayne, and they presented her very strong, but she's not ready to beat Toni Storm for the title yet. I mean, I don't see that. So I got it. And they just basically gave the belt back to Toni Storm. Yes. And, I think that they had the belt on Toni Storm. I think they wanted to see what it would be like on somebody else, and they put it on Mariah May, who had come in and done a good job of getting herself basically over, and that feud was good. And then Mariah had it, and it was very underwhelming. And people were like, where's Toni? Not where's Toni, but we need Toni back. And lo and behold, here we get Toni back with the belt again. So, it doesn't surprise me that she has a belt again. And at this point, I think they're all in on Toni Storm being champion because the timeless Toni Storm thing is so great. So I can't imagine anyone's beating her. Not for a little while here, and definitely not Megan Bayne. Not this soon.
No, totally agree. It really is just a matter of what's the word? How is she going to beat Megan Bayne? Which will be very, very much exciting. But definitely Toni Storm's winning. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely one of those things, they presented Megan Bayne in such a way that for Toni Storm to just get a clean win, and be like, oh, I'm the better wrestler, that looks a little odd because she's outsized, she's outmuscled, all those things, and Megan Bayne looks pretty unstoppable. So Toni Storm's going to have to do something. She's going to have to pull out those veteran tricks, and not cheating, but just those veteran tricks that, someone who's been in those matches before, has the experience of dealing with, whereas Megan Bayne is a rookie, and so she just doesn't have that same, or not a rookie, but, very early. Yeah. For me, she's a rookie, but, so, no, I think that it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. It's definitely one of those where I'm curious to see how they have her beat Megan Bayne. but I definitely think Tony Storm's getting the win.
Yes.
All right. Next on the card, Omega versus Ricochet versus Speedball Mike Bailey for the AEW International Championship. This card is pretty stacked, and I still think, looking at this on paper, this match is probably going to be the best match of the night.
Yeah.
These three men in the ring together, it's going to be crazy. I'm excited for this. It should be a lot of fun. I imagine Kenny Omega probably retains because he just won the belt, and Tony's made a big deal about wanting all these belts to be, basically on the same level, and having it on a Kenny Omega definitely puts it on that very high level, a higher level than it does having it on Speedball or Ricochet at the moment, at least. So, I think that there's a very good chance that both Ricochet and Speedball at some point down the road, and probably Ricochet sooner than Speedball in the very near future, could potentially be international champion. But I don't think that they're beating Kenny Omega, either one of them, in this three-way.
No, it's the same thing like you said about Tony Storm. Kenny Omega had the title once again. We are definitely not getting it off him so freaking fast. So yeah.
Yeah.
He retains.
Claudio, Death Riders versus Rated FTR. Claudio, Wheeler, and Pac versus Cope, Cash, and Dax for the Trios Championship. I'm so torn because, I personally prefer Death Riders. I'm a big Claudio fan. I'm okay on Pac, and I love Wheeler Yuta. So I would prefer them to win, but they've been Trios champions for a while now, and they don't ever do anything. They barely ever defend them, and the Trios champions have been basically reduced to nothing. And I'd like to see them reheated up again. And I don't know that putting them on Cope versus, Cope and FTR is necessarily the way to heat them back up again. They'd have to be booked, and Tony Khan has to care about them. But at the same time, it feels like they need to do something with those belts. So a change seems the best thing to do. So it wouldn't surprise me, especially because Cope never got the win, or hasn't gotten the win yet, over Moxley for the title, that this at least puts a belt on him in AEW. So it wouldn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form if Rated FTR gets a win here. In fact, I'd probably be surprised if the Death Riders retain. That being said, you still have Marina Shafir, and even though Moxley has a match, you still got Moxley hanging out there, and you never know. Technically, you still got a 5-on-3 situation, and we know what the Death Riders do, right? So, who knows what's going to end up happening? But my stomach says it's got to be whatchamacallit getting the win here at Rated FTR.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go again to Death Riders. I don't like Rated FTR is already on this verge of breaking up. So why not hold back? Continue with that story. More so, I want the Ops to be the ones to beat the Death Riders. I want Samoa Joe and Hook and Shibata to be the ones to be the Death Riders. That's my story. So I'm going with Death Riders for the win.
Okay. No, I definitely want the Ops to be Trios champions, and I'd love to see them. But I don't know that beating the Death Riders would be great. I don't know that it has to be for the titles, but I think them versus Rated FTR would be fun as well. Not as much fun, but it'd still be really fun. But yes, I need the belts to be on the Ops for sure. I think that's what needs to happen ultimately. So,
yes.
Let's see. Jericho versus Bandito for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Who you got?
It should be Bandito. Like sweet Lord. We've been doing this whole thing with which feel like it should have been a hidden and quitted storyline, but it's like, okay, I'll draw it in a little bit. It has not sucked. In the words in Jericho Vortex storylines, this has not sucked, right? It definitely gave it definitely gave it the appropriate amount of time. Some missteps, not a lot. If we run this back, it should be because Bandito is winning. Like, what if Bandito doesn't win? Why are we running this back? So yeah, Bandito has to win.
I agree. And even though this little thing with Bandito, as far as Jericho Vortex, hasn't been terrible, him holding that belt hostage when he shouldn't have ever been champion again is definitely terrible. So I'm ready. They need to take that belt off of him. At this point, I don't really care who it is, and I like Bandito, so let it be Bandito. I mean, anybody but Chris Jericho at this point. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, I like Bandito, so and this feud has been good, and Bandito should beat Chris Jericho. So, all right, the last match on the card I see here, and it doesn't feel like enough, especially for an AEW pay-per-view, because they like to do like 30 matches. But let's see. It looks like Adam Cole challenging Daniel Garcia, your current TNT champion, for that
Yeah.
TNT championship. So, what do you think? Who gets the win?
This is probably the most what you call it, two-sided, where it's like we really don't know who wins. I have enjoyed this build. I have enjoyed the matches, even though the last one, the draw, is like, come on, be for real, bruh. But no, their rivalry on Collision is probably it's really one of the main reasons why you should watch Collision. I love Garcia. I do. I think that he has done a honestly, we need to have a come to Jesus moment with this with TNT title. Like, no offense, like, because he got it off of Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Where the frick is he? And no offense to Jack Perry, it was only a couple of defenses. They were like, oh snap, that's actually a good thing. And then we got it on Daniel Garcia. Y'all didn't let him defend that match either, while he was getting beat in trio matches and stuff. It really is like, okay, what are we doing here? It really is like, what is the protocol? So I am not a jump ship kind of girl. I would love to, like, it really is like, just please just put more on. Whoever wins this is basically your television championship. So whoever wins, their matches should be on TNT or TBS. So like, do more, like, let them just compete more on television. With that being said, I'm gonna go for Adam Cole. It's been too long. You should have given him a belt sooner. Like, honestly, you should have given him a belt sooner instead of doing whatever the figure you were doing when he first got here. Like he went up against Hangman. That was fine, but it was more convoluted. Best friends with MJF, that was fine. That got marked by being hurt. So I'll let you give it leeway. But it's like, okay, let's get Adam Cole back on track. So yeah, Adam Cole wins.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I've been critical of Daniel Garcia in the past, and I can see why people like him. And I don't dislike him. I just think, as I say all the time, there's levels to this. And for me, especially the way that Adam Cole came into AEW and the way that you booked him in the beginning was right into the main event picture. You put him
Yeah.
into a huge program, ultimately with MJF, who's one of your biggest stars, if not basically kind of the face of your company for all intents and purposes, or at least it's debatable who is, and he's in that argument. And so, and Daniel Garcia, unfortunately for him, has never sniffed anywhere near those kind of booking heights in AEW. So for me, it feels like there's already been levels to this as far as what we've seen from these two. And Adam Cole should be beating Daniel Garcia for this belt. And if Tony Khan really wants to, be a man of his word and have these belts all feel like they're equally as important, Adam Cole is a main event superstar who is going to compete for your world championship. Putting this belt on him elevates it. Daniel Garcia is not
Yeah.
that guy. He just hasn't been beat that way. At least that's what you're telling us. So in that regard, you put it. It's the same thing with Kenny Omega. You put the belts on these guys for a reason because it elevates them. And so yeah, I mean, that TNT belt hasn't necessarily been the greatest belt for a little while. And I think putting it on Adam Cole can definitely raise that profile. Now, that being said, they put it on Adam Cole. They still have to figure out what to do with Adam Cole once he's the champion and make him have a decent run, give him a different, a decent title run with the belt so that it actually elevates it. But for me, I don't think that there's, Adam Cole is an A+ wrestler at the top of the food chain, and Daniel Garcia is like a B or like a B somewhere for me, as far as middle of the pack kind of guy. He's a very solid, probably very top of the pack mid card guy, but he may periodically have a world title match where he can touch the bottom of that main event level for a second. But I don't want to say ever, but so far they haven't booked him that way as to be on that main event level where they've done that with Adam Cole. I mean, when they brought him in, he was supposed to be the next big thing, right? I mean, oh my God, look who's in AEW, right? I mean, so Daniel Garcia's never got that kind of fanfare. Now, to be fair, it wasn't the same situation, but when you bring in a guy like Adam Cole, you give him all that fanfare, you put him right into major programs. Yeah, I mean, now that he's back and healthy, you got to put a title on him. So,
all right.
I think it has to be Adam Cole. All right, so that wraps up our AEW Dynasty review and our
predictions.
The predictions. That's right. Now it wasn't a review. Preview. How's that? Preview /
preview.
predictions. That's what I actually meant to say. Preview. And I guess that brings us to the end of this episode of the Cookout. We talked about a lot of interesting things in the world of professional wrestling tonight. We actually stuck to the theme and talked about what's cooking up in the world of professional wrestling tonight, which is something that we don't always do on the Cookout, despite that being our no. So,
but we
try. So we'll do a little housekeeping. Tuesday nights, which you're with us here for now, every Tuesday night, join us for the Cookout. 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, where we all come together and talk about what's cooking up in the world of professional wrestling. Friday Night Fights, it's usually Sammy Joe and Anika watching SmackDown in real time, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, giving you their reactions and opinions as they watch the show. Saturday mornings, myself, Sammy Joe, and Anika, we come together 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, and review Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Dynamite from the few days prior, and grade each show, and the show with the highest grade is our winner that week for a winner's circle. Saturday Night Collision watch along is definitely very hit or miss. It's probably going away with a rundown, which will be a review of Collision, a review of Asahi Wrestling, and WWE Evolve. But I'll put this up here anyhow. When we do have it, or if we continue to do it, it is at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern when Collision starts, watching it in real time and giving you our views and opinions. If you scan this QR code, the QR code will take you to Linktree, and from Linktree you can get to all of our social media from one place, and you can interact with us on all of these social media platforms. Please come check us out. We love to hear what you got to say. We love to hear from you guys, and interact with you guys. So make sure and scan that QR code. Again, that'll get you to Linktree, and from Linktree, you can get to all of these social media platforms where we are from one easy location. If you're interested in, where did it go? Oh, wrong one. If you're interested in listening to the Cookout podcast, you can listen to the audio version while you're doing whatever it is you're doing, your chores, driving, working, whatever it is, on these podcast platforms that you see on the screen: Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio. So make sure and check that out if you don't have time to join us live or sit and watch it on demand. Unless you got anything else, Anika, we'll cut out the lights and get up out of here.
Yup.
All right. Out go the lights, and peace.
Bye.